So in the previous class, we were talking about preamble, right? That is, we started a discussion on the importance of preamble, that is, the meaning of preamble, as well as the significance of preamble. We had a discussion on meaning, significance, and the significance by using the interpretations made by Supreme Court. It is by using the interpretations of Supreme Court. Alright. So that is what we have discussed, and even we had a discussion on the meaning of the word sovereign. Right? I think even we started discussion on socialism also. Right? So what is socialism? The difference between Indian form of socialism as well as Soviet form of socialism. Right? The goals of socialism. Right? So this is what we have discussed in the previous class. So let me go ahead with this discussion. Alright. So that is, let me start the class today with the topic on relevance of socialism. Relevance of socialism. Alright. So one of the meaning that we have discussed is socialism means state control over means of production as well as means of distribution. Alright. Socialism envisages, alright, state control over means of production, and means of distribution, alright. So here means of production means, alright, if you take this word means of production, alright, so it means all those units, all those public sector units which are involved in production of goods and services, right? It is all the public sector units, which are involved in production of goods and services. So we also call them as public sector enterprises. And the other term that is used is economic heights of the nation, right? So these PSUs, they are also called as economic heights of the nation. They are regarded as economic heights of the nation. So never get confused. So don't get confused by seeing these terms, right? Economic heights of the nation or public sector units or public sector enterprises. So all they are regarded as means of production, right? Let me give some examples. You have ONGC, right? BPCL, HPCL. Today we have these petroleum companies, coal companies, steel companies. So now they are being privatized, right? But initially they were established under the total control of the state. They were under the total control of government. Alright. So in this regard, I want to mention one point, that is the second 5-year plan. If you take this second 5-year plan, the architect of second 5-year plan is P.C. Mahalanobis. Right, it is P.C. Mahalanobis, right, who is the architect of second 5-year plan. That is, it is based upon the views, it is based upon the strategy of P.C. Mahalanobis. The second 5-year plan has been designed, which had a lasting impact. So we see the impact of this P.C. Mahalanobis on the for the next 75 years of India. That is, if you take this strategy from second 5-year plan, the focus was on industrializing India. industrialization of India. So by setting up of basic and heavy industries, by setting up of basic and heavy industries. So those industries, right? So in order to substitute imports of capital goods, so another strategy is, right, another assumption is to substitute, to avoid imports of capital goods, that is to avoid the import of machinery, right? The government of India took a decision of producing these capital goods within India. So what is capital goods, what are intermediate goods? So we will read in the economy, but not in polity. Alright. So but here I am giving the what do you call, the reason for industrialization, the reason for setting up of this basic and heavy industries. It is to avoid imports. It is to avoid imports, right? That means right from 1956 onwards, the government of India gave importance to these basic and heavy industries. So all the industries, they were set up under the control of government, and we call them as corporations, public sector corporations, also called as public sector units. Alright. So very important. Alright. So both in polity, in economy, as well as in essay and the optional like public administration. The optional like public administration. Alright. So these industries, these public sector corporations or public sector units, they were totally supported by government budget. They are being budgeted by government. That means all the capital investments, all the capital that is required for these PSUs, it is met through budget. It is met through budget. And these PSUs, they were set up under government. That means they functioned, these public sector units, they have functioned in the ministries, in their ministries, in the concerned ministries. So we have Ministry of Steel, Ministry of Petroleum, Ministry of Fertilizers. Even today we have this Ministry of Heavy Industries. Right? So every government corporation, there is a minister in charge, there are IAS officers, there are bureaucrats, right, who have managed these public sector units. Right? So initially these public sector units are managed. These public sector units are managed by the government. If you take the board of management, it included the ministers, it included the IAS officers. Alright. So this is what the situation. The reason for giving this information is there will be a compulsory question. There will be a compulsory question. Once in 2 years, you see this question on working of PSUs in India. The reasons for failure of PSUs in India. Alright. So once in 2 years, once in 3 years, you see this question being asked in UPSC. Alright. The reasons for failure of PSUs in India. Why government has went for liberalization? Why government has preferred privatization? What is the reason for going for privatization? Going for privatization is failure of PSUs. What is the reason for failure of PSUs? Now, this is the reason. Political control, bureaucratic control. One of the most important factors behind the failure of PSUs, the most important factor for adopting liberalization and privatization is the political and bureaucratic control. Very important. Alright. So when you write an answer on PSUs, definitely you should give this point. Alright. And for optionals like public administration, it is a separate chapter in public administration. PSUs is a separate chapter. Alright. So initially these PSUs, they were established. Initially these PSUs were established under government control. Alright. And almost from 1960s to 1980s, government went on funding these what we call public sector units. Government has given budgets. All the required budgets are given to these PSUs. Okay. But what happened? What was the result of these PSUs? What was the purpose of PSUs? The purpose of PSUs is to generate profits. The purpose of public sector units is to generate profits, where these profits are to be used as capital. So primarily they are meant to produce goods and services, right, and thereby making profits, so that these profits can be used for next capital requirements. This was the what you call basic goal of PSUs. But by 1990, what was witnessed? So it is not, that is from 1985 itself. From 1985 itself, what was witnessed is the failure of public sector units, because these PSUs, instead of generating profits, they started yielding losses. They made losses. They have become loss-making units. These public sector units have become loss-making units. Instead of generating capital, instead of generating profits, they made losses. Now, when a public sector unit continuously makes losses, don't you think it as a burden on the government? Yes or no? It is. Instead of making profit, that means instead of what you call generating profits, right, they made losses and made the government to fund them, right? So here, when there will be loss, when losses will be incurred, right? Normally if you go to your mathematics, losses comes when the selling price is less than the cost price, right? The prices of goods and services, they were less than, right, the cost of production. Now there is a big reason for this. Right? So the selling price of these goods and services, they are less than cost price. Because of this, losses are made. Alright, so there is a big story behind this. So because I don't want to drag this topic beyond our polity. Alright, so whenever I'll deal this what you call economy, after completing polity I'll deal economy. In economy we have a separate chapter of industries. We have a separate chapter of economic reforms. At that point I'll bring the reasons for making these losses. But as of now, remember that these public sector units have made losses because their selling price, the selling price of goods and services, they were less than cost price. In the name of welfare, I'll give one simple reason. Government wanted these selling prices to be affordable to every section of society. అంటే అందరికీ అందుబాటులో ఉండే ధరలు మాత్రమే ఉండాలని చెప్పింది. అంటే అందరికీ అందుబాటులో ఉండాలి కదా, ధరలు కూడా అందరికీ అందుబాటులో ఉండాలి. గవర్నమెంట్ వాంటెడ్ these prices to be affordable to everyone. And if you take the income capacity of Indian society, what is the income capacity of Indian society in 1960s and in 1970s? It is far less. Today we talk about 65,000, 70,000 the per capita income beyond 60,000. But the per capita income in 1970s, what was per capita income? It was less than 200. If you I'll give one simple example. If you fix the price of a cement bag as 100, will the people purchase that cement bag? No. If it is fixed as 30 rupees, what happens? It will be affordable to everyone. When the cost price is 100 rupees, what government has done? The government has sold these products at the cost of 30 rupees, and the 70 rupees paid by government in the form of subsidy. Subsidies are given. Again it is a burden on the government. This is what the issue. The reason for losses, the reasons for failure of PSUs in India is, in the name of welfare state, in the name of affordable prices, these public sector units are forced to sell their products less than the cost price. Right? And there are many other things. We have a term called as administered price mechanism. Administered prices. సో ఇవన్నీ ఇప్పుడు మీకు చెప్తే నేను పాలిటీ చెప్పినట్టు ఉండదు, అది ఎకానమీ లాగా ఉంటుంది. సో ఇప్పుడు అవన్నీ నేను ఐ డోంట్ వాంట్ టు గో ఇన్ టు ద డీటెయిల్స్ బికాస్ ఎమోషనల్లీ ఐ మే గో అవుట్ బట్ ఐ డోంట్ వాంట్ టు గో ఇన్ టు దట్ డీటెయిల్స్ రైట్. బట్ యాజ్ ఆఫ్ నౌ మీరు గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాల్సింది ఏంటంటే దీస్ పబ్లిక్ సెక్టార్ యూనిట్స్ దే స్టార్టెడ్ మేకింగ్ లాసెస్. దే బికేమ్ బర్డెన్ ఆన్ ది గవర్నమెంట్. Initially what we thought that these public sector units which are regarded as economic heights of the nation will be beneficial, right, if they are under state control. If they are under state control, they can be better managed, the goods that are produced, they can be better distributed. So without government control it is possible, whether it is possible for having a better distribution of goods and services. గవర్నమెంట్ కంట్రోల్ లేకుంటే డిస్ట్రిబ్యూషన్ సరిగ్గా జరిగేది కాదు రైట్. సో ఇన్ ఆర్డర్ టు హ్యావ్ ఎ డిస్ట్రిబ్యూటివ్ జస్టిస్ వాట్ ఈస్ రిక్వైర్డ్ ఈస్ గవర్నమెంట్ కంట్రోల్. It is because of this reason the government favored state control over means of production as well as means of distribution. So it is only then government can have what we call a better idea of what is being produced, how much is being produced and to whom it is being distributed, right. So this was the assumption behind having this state control over means of production. But what was the result? The result is it yielded losses. It has become burden. Now when there is a burden on the government, should government bear this burden or should government leave this burden? What to do? No, what will you do? If there is an increased burden, what will you do? Will you keep on bearing this burden or will you try to leave that burden? ఆ బర్డెన్ మోయడానికి ట్రై చేస్తారా, బర్డెన్ వదిలించుకోవడానికి కోసం ట్రై చేస్తారా? వదిలించుకోవాలి. We should leave that burden. Now what is a better way? Either you should close down these public sector units or you should privatize it. అంతే కదా, right? There are two ways of leaving the burden. There are two ways of coming out of this burden. One is either you close down all these public sector units or you privatize them. There were two options and government have used both these options. Remember, government has used both these option of closing the public sector units as well as what you call privatizing them. So some of them temporarily closed, some of them are permanently closed. Alright. So say for example, if you take BHEL was closed for almost all 6 years. There is one plant in what you call Visakhapatnam which is called as BHPV, alright, Bharat Heavy Plates and Vessels, which is near to Kurmanapalam, alright, Hindustan Zinc. They were closed for years together, for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, because alright, government was not in a position to bear the burden. And it was only in the recent past they are being privatized, they are being disinvested, they are opened by having disinvestment. And today we are talking about disinvesting what? Visakhapatnam Steel, that is Vizag Steel. There is a big debate on this. It is a perfect example. In last year we have seen what you call privatization of Air India. Or it was privatized. Of course, it was again purchased by what you call Tatas. It originally belonged to Tatas and which was given to nation, and now it is again taken back by Tatas. Right? It is again different story. So that means the point here is because of these failures, because of the failure of PSUs, the government was forced to privatize them. So now, right, we started with the philosophy of state control. In 1950s and 1960s, we started with the philosophy of state control. Today, do we have the state control? After 1991, particularly after from 1997 to 2001, there is a large scale disinvestment took place in India. Alright, there is a large scale disinvestment. Took place in India. Okay, now we are in the era of liberalization and privatization. So do you accept with me or not? Right? So can we say that we are in the era of liberalization privatization? Whether it is right to say that we are in the era of liberalization and privatization? Yes or no? Yes, we are in the era of liberalization and privatization. Okay, because these public sector units, they are being privatized. Now, how far it is right to say that there is still relevance of socialism? How far it is right to say that there is a relevance of socialism? Do you think that socialism has relevance even today? Do you think that socialism has relevance even today? In the era of liberalization, in the era of privatization, do you think that this socialistic philosophy has an importance? ఉందనుకుంటున్నారా లేదనుకుంటున్నారా? Right? How do you justify that there is a relevance of socialism? How do you justify that there is a relevance of socialism? When you say that there is a relevance of socialism, how do you justify it? Alright? But in the economic sector, in the management of PSUs, there is no state philosophy. There is no state control. So in the social sector, there is a relevance. But in economic sector, the relevance has come down. Alright? So when we talk about socialism, when we talk about the philosophy of socialism, we should always, right, think about two things. Right, social and welfare sectors. Social, welfare or developmental areas. Development. This is one thing. On the other side, it is economic and financial sectors. Economic and financial sector. So, when we talk about relevance of socialism, you should clearly differentiate, right? So in the area of economic sector or financial sector, the relevance of socialism has come down. All right, here the socialism has come down, whereas in the areas of development, in the area of social and welfare sector, still there is a relevance of socialism. All right. So what is the ultimate goal of socialism? Equality, welfare, right? Removing of inequalities. Have we achieved the goal of welfare state? So we can openly say that till today, right, we have not achieved this goal of welfare state. So fully we have not achieved this goal of welfare state. Now who should take the responsibility of establishing welfare state? Government. So obviously it is the moral and ethical responsibility of the government to establish welfare state. So until we achieve the goal of welfare state, there is relevance for socialism. The relevance for socialism will be there, right, as long as or until we achieve the goal of welfare state. So though the importance have come down in financial sector, though the importance have come down in the management of public sector units, but still it is there in development. Alright. So when you want to talk about the debate on relevance of socialism, alright, so this is how you should conclude. So you should say that still there is a relevance for socialism as long as we achieve the goal of welfare state, as long as we achieve all the development fruits, right, as long as the developmental fruits are equally distributed, right, there is relevance for socialism. Alright. So social democracy, social justice will prevail only when there is socialism. Coming to economic sector, right, here we need not follow the philosophy of socialism, because these are, if you take these public sector units, they are business entities. These are business entities. They are meant to make profits. So when these business entities should always be run, they should always be governed by the principles of business. Here you should not impose the welfare principles. When you talk about this what called public sector units, which are regarded as the business entities, the capital generating institutions, here you cannot mix You should not mix the welfare policies with this business. Alright. So these public sector units, they should always run according to the principles of business management. They should always run according to the principles of private sector, market principles. Here welfare doesn't work. If you impose welfare principles, they will not make profits. They will not make profits if you impose welfare principles. Right? And here, coming to development, coming to welfare, you cannot use private sector principles. You cannot use market principles. Market principles will not bring development. Market principles will not bring welfare. Alright? If you want to have welfare, follow the philosophy of socialism. If you want to make money, follow the principle of markets. So we should be clear. There should be a clear delineation of where to use welfare principles and where to use market principles. Am I clear to you? Alright? So this is what the debate on socialism. Am I clear about this debate? Ekkada welfare unda, ekkada socialism undali, ekkada market principles undali. Alright? So asal socialism ki relevance unda leda? Alright? Undi. మనకు డెవలప్మెంట్ గోల్స్ అచీవ్ అయ్యేంత వరకు సోషలిజం అన్నదానికి ఇంపార్టెన్స్ ఉంటుంది. ఎన్ని సంవత్సరాలు అంటే చెప్పలేము. ఈజ్ దెర్ ఎనీ లిమిట్ ఫర్ డెవలప్మెంట్? విల్ దెర్ బి ఎనీ ఎండ్ టు డెవలప్మెంట్? దెర్ ఈజ్ నో ఎండ్ టు డెవలప్మెంట్. దెర్ ఈజ్ నో లిమిట్ టు డెవలప్మెంట్. డెవలప్మెంట్ ఈజ్ అన్ ఎండ్లెస్ కాన్సెప్ట్. Development is an endless concept. As long as there is human beings on this earth, there will be development. Alright? So this is what about the debate on socialism. So do take a question on this. Do take a question on this. Very, very important for GS, that is in GS paper 2, that is in our polity, governance. Not only this, very important for essay, important for public administration, important for political science. Alright? So you can use this information in all these areas. Explain the concept of socialism. Explain the concept of socialism and debate on the relevance of socialism and debate on relevance of socialism in India and debate on relevance of socialism in India. Okay, so this is about the topic of socialism. The next word is democracy. The next word in the preamble is democracy. So what is democracy? Rule by people, to the people, by the people, for the people, it the people, all the people. Right? You have this very common quotation, right? Given by whom? Abraham Lincoln. Right? So we are well aware about this quote of Abraham Lincoln. Alright? So democracy denotes two things. One is a society, alright, as well as the nature of government. So narrowly it is nature of government and broadly it is nature of state. It is society and the government. Alright. So first let me talk about, so this denotes social democracy and this denotes political democracy. One is social democracy, other one is political democracy. Alright. So let me start the discussion on this point of social democracy or democratic society. What do you mean by democratic society? Are you going to vote in the elections? Alright. So do you belong to Telangana or do you go AP? So you are leaving to AP to cast your vote. Amma no పోతానవా ఓటు వేయడానికి? పైసలు ఇచ్చిర్లా? పైసలు ఇస్తారా? అందరూ పైసలు ఇస్తారు కాబట్టి పోవాలి. రైట్. సో the point here is You vote. To whom you will vote, it is up to you. I don't want to know your responses or know your preferences. It is up to you. What does this vote denotes? What does this right to vote denotes? Don't you call it as your preferences to a political party, your preferences to your agenda, your preferences to your political philosophy. Yes or no? So you have every liberty to choose your own representative. Is there any compulsion on you? There is no compulsion on you. So you enjoy every liberty. You have every liberty to select, to choose your own representative. That means what? Enjoyment of freedom. Democratic society is that society where people are given all the liberty, where people enjoy all the freedoms. First thing is, right, to be called as a democratic society. To be called as a democratic society, what is required is freedoms. What is required is freedoms, liberties, freedom to express yourself, freedom to give your opinion, freedom to talk, freedom to know, liberty, where you are free from all the forms of restriction. Without liberty, you can't exercise freedoms. Liberty is essential. Liberty is essential. Unrestricted life, right? It is unrestricted life, at least in choosing your opinions, in showing your opinions, in expressing your opinions, right? So, democratic society is that society where people enjoy liberty and freedom. Alright, this is one thing. Now, another thing is, alright, no? See, liberty is a broader concept. Liberty is a broader concept, alright, which means that every individual has an unrestricted life, right? Freedom. That means independence. Independence. So without liberty, it is not possible to exercise your independence. It is not possible to have your independence. You cannot enjoy your freedoms without liberty. Alright. So liberty is a precondition. Liberty is a precondition. Alright. So now another thing is, it is a society where all the people are treated equally. Alright. So democratic society denotes a society where there is social equality. Alright, where there is a social equality. Alright, that means a society where there is no discrimination. A society where there is no social discrimination. A society where there is no social discrimination. So, where there is equality, where there is no social discrimination. So, that means what? Alright, without this social equality, it is not possible to promote political democracy. Right? So, without social democracy, there is no political democracy. Even in the debates, that is, when there is a debate on the preamble, right, B.R. Ambedkar clearly said that social democracy is a precondition for political democracy. Social democracy is the primary right of every citizen of this nation. Right? So, in the words of B.R. Ambedkar, you can find these words, you can find these lines in Introduction to Constitution by Durga Das Basu, D.D. Basu. D.D. Basu book lo clear ga ee lines untai. Right? When you read a chapter of preamble in D.D. Basu, you can find these lines. So, according to B.R. Ambedkar, social democracy is a precondition for political democracy. Social democracy is essential. Right? It is the primary right of every individual. Social democracy is a primary right of every individual. Right? So, that means without equality, there is no meaning in having political democracy. Right? So, that is what social democracy means. It is a form of democracy. It denotes the nature of society where people enjoy liberty, freedom. It denotes a society where there is social equality, where there is no social discriminations. Alright? How to promote equality? Without removing inequalities. Whether it is possible to promote equality. Whether equality comes first or removal of inequalities comes first. Alright? So, I'll give one point. We always say that all the people should be treated equally. Okay? This is what a common slogan in every part of the society. All the people should be treated equally. Okay? All the people will be treated equally. But if you take a society like India, alright, from the ages which is being stratified, if you take Indian society is known for what? A stratified society. Indian society is a stratified society, that is, which is divided. So, right from Vedic time, that is almost from latter Vedic period, we have this Varna system. Right? The society is divided into Varna system. So, there is a social hierarchy in India. There is a social hierarchy in India. There is a social hierarchy. That is, there is a social divisions. So, wherever there is social hierarchy, wherever there is social divisions, whether it is possible to have equality in such a society, whether it is possible to have equality in such a society where there is divisions, possible avutunda? No. Wherever there is divisions, it is not possible to have equality. So, there will be inequalities. Wherever there is social division, in the form of, the best example is the casteism in India, the caste society. Wherever there is social divisions, there we will see inequalities. So, when there are inequalities, how it is possible to see all the people equally? Right? Where there are inequalities which are rigid in a society, how it is possible to have equality? Now, to have equality, what is required is removal of inequalities. Unless inequalities are removed, it is not possible to have equality. These are not my words. These are clearly said by Ambedkar in the Constituent Assembly when there was a debate on this. Alright. So, social democracy requires removal of inequalities. So, social democracy is not possible. Social democracy is not possible without removing inequalities. Without removing inequalities, this social democracy is not possible. It is, the equality is not possible. Am I clear? Alright. So, this is what social democracy means. Alright. So, now coming to political democracy. So, what is this political democracy denotes? Political democracy denotes a form of the government. Political democracy denotes a form of government. Political democracy denotes a form of government. Alright. A government that is elected by people, now you say it as rule of people. Alright. So, whatever the definition that was given by you, it is political democracy. Right. So, political democracy denotes a government, right, which is formed by people. That is, if you take this political democracy, it denotes the power lies within the people. The basic assumption here is people have the capacity to manage all their affairs. Alright. So, political democracy also denotes the ability of the people, the capacity of the people to manage their own affairs, alright, to regulate themselves, to govern themselves. So, democracy also denotes the ability of the people, People to govern themselves. Ability of the people to govern themselves. Right? To manage their own affairs. To manage their own affairs. Right? In the previous class, when we talked about sovereignty, right? What is the meaning of sovereignty? Right? We said that, right? Sovereignty denotes a nation where power and authority lies with the people. So people are the source of power and authority. Remember, it is the people. People are always the source of power and authority. People are the source of power and authority. They are always the source of power and authority. Alright? So, alright, so this is what democracy means. So democracy denotes a society where people can govern themselves, where people can manage their own affairs, where people acts as source of power and authority. So we are saying that people, where it is all the people or few people. Alright, who, where it is few or all. It is all the people. Whether that is power lies with all the people. It is not few. Alright. So when all the people can participate, only when there is equality. So without equality, it is not possible for all the people to participate in the political decision making process. That is the reason why I said that social democracy is a precondition for political democracy. Equality is a precondition for political democracy. If there is no equality, what happens? It is only few people in this society, it is few groups in this society who will enjoy the political power. It is only few who will enjoy the political power, it is few who will manage and govern. Then what about others? They are simply at the receiving end. They are only meant to take the benefits without having any active participation. Only few have active participation. Remaining other, they are just seen as the passive beneficiaries. That is what the nature of Indian political system today. If you take present political system, whether all the people are actively participating, except right to vote, do you think that all the people have active participation? Once voting is done, no political party will see the face of common people. No political party will think about the common people. The reason lies in what you call this unequal society. Right? So without this equality, it is never possible. It is never possible to have political democracy. And such a political democracy without equality is more dangerous. Without equality, political democracy without equality is more dangerous to society. Right? Why it is dangerous? In what way it is dangerous? Equality lekunda political democracy annadi dangerous. Enduku adi dangerous? Why it is dangerous? Power is enjoyed by few people and the power is imposed on others. There is an every chance of misuse for the individual interest. There is an every chance of misuse of power for the self-interest, for the interest of the group. Only few groups benefit, where majority groups are left out from these benefits. That is the reason why it is dangerous. అందుకనే అప్పుడే చెప్పి 1950s ఖచ్చితంగా సోషల్ డెమోక్రసీ ఉండాలి, ఖచ్చితంగా ఈక్వాలిటీ ఉండాలి. ఈక్వాలిటీ అన్నది లేనంత వరకు రైట్ ఎలాంటి డెమోక్రసీ, ఎలాంటి పొలిటికల్ డెమోక్రసీ వర్కౌట్ కాదు. సో ఫస్ట్ వీ షుడ్ ప్రమోట్ సోషల్ డెమోక్రసీ, దెన్ వీ షుడ్ థింక్ అబౌట్ పొలిటికల్ డెమోక్రసీ. Right? So, political democracy denotes a form of government where It assumes that people are the source of power, people can govern themselves, people have the ability to rule themselves, people can manage their own affairs. Alright. And if you take this political democracy, we have two types of what you call democratic governments. One is presidential form of government and the other one is parliamentary form of government. Alright. So, based upon the nature, we can also classify this democracy, political democracy. We can classify this political democracy into two categories. One is parliamentary democracy and the other one is presidential democracy. One is parliamentary democracy and the other one is presidential democracy. And mode of participation, based upon mode of participation of people, mode of participation by people, mode of participation by people, we can classify them into direct democracy and indirect democracy. One is direct democracy and the other one is indirect democracy. In this point, direct democracy and what is indirect democracy. So, based upon the nature of participation, based upon nature of participation, we can classify this democracy into direct and indirect. Direct democracy denotes, right, where people directly participate in political decision making. That is, the political decisions are made directly by the people. So, it is the people who directly who are directly involved in political decision making. That is, the issues are decided, the political issues are decided by people themselves. Alright. Sometimes you see the word of referendum. On a particular issue, there will be a referendum conducted. So, what is referendum? Means the people deciding the issue directly by themselves through voting. Alright. Say, I will give one simple example. Should India conduct Olympics or not? Whether India should take the whether India should host this Olympics or not in the future, or at least in the next Olympics. Alright. So, conducting Olympics is not that easy, which involves thousands of crores. It is not that easy. It involves much expenditure. Much of the public money should be used in this conducting of Olympics. Alright. Now, the issue for a country like India, which is growing, which is developing, where there is hunger deaths, where there is inequalities, should the country like India afford these kind of Olympics? Now, who should decide this issue? Whether the people's representatives or let the people decide them directly? Think that given a chance, I am just giving an example, think that the chance is given to the people through voting. There are only two things, either yes or no. You should go to vote and cast your vote. Depending upon your voting, the issue will be decided. That is, based upon the majority opinion, the decision will be taken. So, this is called as what you call referendum. So, people directly deciding on the issue. Instead of representatives, instead of MPs and MLAs, it is the people who are taking a decision. So, referendum is the best example of direct democracy. So, most of the political issues in in Europe, they are being dealt by this referendum. Alright, LGBT, right, same-sex marriages, right. So, these there was an issue of termination of pregnancy, medical termination of pregnancy, right. So, the countries went for a referendum. Brexit, the popular example, Brexit denotes, right, exit of Britain from European Union. It denotes exit of Britain from European Union. So, these are the issues which are directly dealt, which are directly dealt by people. They are voted directly by people through referendum. So referendum is a common practice in European countries, but coming to India, in our country, right, we don't see much usage of this referendum, right. So apart from referendum, we have other instruments like recall, initiative, right, plebiscite. So these are different examples of what you call direct democracy, right. These are different examples of direct democracy, all right. So coming to indirect democracy. Indirect democracy denotes a democratic system where people participate in the political decision making indirectly through their representatives. So here people participate in the political decision making. People participate in political decision making, right, in an indirect manner. In an indirect manner through their representatives. Through their representatives. It is through the representatives. So that is the reason why this indirect democracy is also called as representative democracy. It is also called as representative democracy. Alright, so both parliamentary system of government, that is the parliamentary democracy, and presidential democracy, they are the best, they are the examples of indirect democracy. Right. So indirect democracy is also called as a representative democracy, right, where within this representative democracy we have both parliamentary system as well as presidential system. Right. So both are examples of representative democracy. Right. So before going ahead, let me ask one question. Right. So do you know that President of America is elected? Right. Whether he is elected directly by people of America or indirectly by people of America. How President of America is elected, whether directly or indirectly? Directly. What about you? Directly. What about you? The minority batch in the class. Alright? It is based upon your number. Only one girl in the class today. So you have said that the President of America is elected directly. If American President is elected directly, then why it is called as, why this presidential system is called as a representative democracy, or why it is under this indirect democracy? At least you should have thought. When American President is elected directly, why we have categorized this presidential democracy as a form of indirect democracy? That means, remember, so there is a big misconception. Normally we have this misconception. Remember that even President of America is elected indirectly. Alright? The people of America will not directly vote to the presidential candidate. They will elect the members of electoral college. Alright? So remember, the American president. Alright? So there is an institution called as electoral college. There is an institution called as electoral college in America. So, right, it is this members of electoral college who will elect the American president. Right, it is the members of electoral college who will elect the American president. Okay, then what people do? People will elect the members of electoral college. So the members of this electoral college are directly elected by people, and it is this electoral college who will elect the American president. Alright, the same kind of system that we have in India. So of course this concept of electoral college, even if you take President of India, The President of India is also elected by, the President of India is also elected by Electoral College. Right? The concept of Electoral College is taken from American system. Remember, the concept of Electoral College, it is taken from American system. Right? But the difference is, in case of America, the people of America, the citizens of America will elect members of Electoral College. Right? And this Electoral College will elect president. Once a president is elected, there will be dissolution of this Electoral College. The Electoral College will get dissolved after election of president. ఒక్కసారి అమెరికన్ ప్రెసిడెంట్ ఎన్నుకున్న తర్వాత ఎలక్ట్రల్ కాలేజ్ తోటి ఎలాంటి సంబంధం లేదు, అది డిజాల్వ్ అయిపోతుంది. అంటే ఆ మెంబర్స్ కూడా డిజాల్వ్ అయిపోతారు. ఇఫ్ యు టేక్ ఇండియా, ద ప్రెసిడెంట్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా ఇస్ ఎలక్టెడ్ బై ఎలక్ట్రల్ కాలేజ్ consisting of whom? Elected members of parliament and state legislature. So these members of electoral college in India, will they get dissolved after electing president? No, they will remain in the office. They will be in the office. According to the, once the president is elected, it will be dissolved. But in India it is not dissolved. That is the difference. Alright. So that means, remember that even American president is elected indirectly. So don't be in a misconception. Don't be in a misconception. So if we have the topic of comparative constitutions in GS paper 2, in polity governance paper, we have this topic of comparative constitutions. We have this topic of comparative constitutions. Okay. Alright. So again, there during in our governance paper, that is during mains, we will compare Indian system with other countries. But as of now, remember this point. So we started our discussion with indirect democracy, right, which includes both parliamentary system as well as presidential system. So let us make a difference between these two, right, the difference between parliamentary democracy and presidential democracy. Right? Let us make a difference between a parliamentary system and presidential system. Alright? What is the cornerstone of parliamentary system of government? What is the cornerstone of parliamentary system of government? Being accountable and answerable. I want that exact word. In previous classes, in last 5 classes, what is that bedrock principle? What is that bedrock principle of parliamentary system of government? In last 1 week, I was repeating that word. ఖచ్చితంగా గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవడం చెప్తూనే ఉన్నా. What was that word? Collective responsibility. It is collective responsibility. మీ అందరికి దెబ్బలు పడతాయి కానీ. Alright? So it is collective responsibility which is regarded as bedrock principle. Right? So that is what hallmark of parliamentary system of government, which means what? Collective responsibility means it is accountability and answerability of the executive to the legislature, and executive is a part and parcel of legislature. That is, we have dual membership. If you take parliamentary system of government, in this parliamentary system of government, even we have dual membership. Right? That means, is there any specific separation between legislature and executive in parliamentary system? In a parliamentary system, is there any clear separation of executive from legislature? No. బాగా గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాల్సిన point. In a parliamentary system, there is no clear separation of executive from legislature, because the members of executive are also the members of legislature. So there is no clear separation of powers. In a parliamentary system of government, there is no clear separation of powers. Whereas in presidential system, there is a clear separation of powers. There is a clear separation of powers. The powers are being clearly separated between, alright, executive and legislature. Alright, executive, legislature and judiciary. But here there is no clear separation between executive and legislature, because executive is a part of legislature. Alright. Because of this reason, there is collective responsibility in parliamentary system of government. There is collective responsibility in parliamentary system of government, whereas you don't see this collective responsibility in presidential form of government. So there is no collective responsibility. There is no collective responsibility in presidential form of government. There is no collective responsibility. Alright, that means what? Here the members of government, executive is answerable and accountable to legislature. Whereas in presidential system of government, the executive is not accountable and answerable. Right? In presidential form of government, the executive is not accountable and answerable. So no accountability and answerability. There is no accountability and answerability of what you call executive to the legislature. So this is the basic difference. This is the basic difference. Alright? Between presidential form of government as well as parliamentary form of government. The main principles are separation of powers and collective responsibility. So this question was asked in mains for 3 times in last 8 years. Working of separation of powers in India and compare it with other constitutions. Alright. So how? Because this concept of separation of powers, right, it is clearly mentioned in our syllabus of paper 2. There is a clear word of separation of powers. So every UPSC aspirant, they should be clear about this working of separation of powers. So in a parliamentary system of government, we don't see clear separation of powers between executive and legislature. Whereas in presidential form of governments, there is a clear separation between executive and legislature. Right? So both are examples of representative democracy, also called as indirect democracy. Okay? So here they are not responsible to whom? No responsibility. It is up to the government, they can take the decisions. But their conduct will be discussed in legislature. This House of Representatives and what you call the Senate in America, they will discuss the decisions taken by the government. Alright. So they should approve. Alright. So they will take the decisions independent of the executive. Right? Though the decisions are taken by American president, right, they will come for discussions and debates in American parliament, that is both in House of Representative and Senate. So without the approval of that Senate or representatives, the decisions of the government will not be implemented. Right? See here, the point here is, normally we take the members, of course, alright. The president is powerful because they can take a decisions independently without the involvement of legislature, right? So as they are not required to answer legislature, they can take the decisions. But later on there will be a debate in the Senate and representatives, House of Representatives, and they need to approve it. And normally based upon the majority, because Senate and representatives, they normally contains the members, that is the political party which supports president. They have the majority which supports president. Alright? Alright, say for example, alright, we normally see US imposing sanctions on different countries. The government may take decisions of imposing sanctions, but who should ratify it? Who should approve it? The American Parliament. Though the decisions are taken by American president, but these decisions need to be approved by Parliament. Alright? So it requires Parliament's approval. Alright? So this is what about the difference between direct, indirect, as well as presidential and parliamentary system of government. Take down a question on this point. Take down a question on this point. Write a short notes on. Write a short notes on direct and indirect democracy. Write a short notes on direct and indirect democracy. And presidential and parliamentary democracy. Next question. What are the features of a democratic society? What are the features of a democratic society? What are the features of a democratic society? And discuss the threats to democratic society, and discuss threats to democratic society, and discuss the threats to democratic society. Okay, so these about democracy. The next word in preamble is a republic. The next word, so if you take India is always called as a democratic republic of India. Alright, India is always named as a democratic republic of India. So what does this republic denotes? What do you mean by this republic? So there are two things that we can infer from this word republic. It denotes a nature of state. At the same time, it denotes a nature of government. It denotes a nature of state as well as a nature of government. So first of all, if you take this nature of state, it denotes a nation having elected head of the state. Right? It is a nation having elected head of the nation. A nation having elected head. Right? So who is the head of the nation of India? Who is head of the nation? It is President of India. Right? So it is President of India who is head of the nation. It is President who is the head of the nation. Okay. Now, whether this President is elected or selected. Alright. Whether he is selected or elected. Right. Who will select? Whether MPs, MLAs select or elect? They will elect. Right. So the President of India is elected indirectly by people of India. Their President is elected indirectly by people, and he is elected by the people's representatives. Right. So President is elected by an institution called as Electoral College. Electoral College, which consists of elected members of parliament, as well as state legislature, parliament and state legislature. So it is the elected members of parliament and state legislature who will participate in the election of President of India. So that means, remember, there is no place for nominated members in the election of President. The nominated members will not participate. In the election of President. It is only the elected members of Parliament and what we call state legislatures. That is MPs in Lok Sabha and MPs in Rajya Sabha, plus it is MLAs. So there is no place for MLCs. There is no place for nominated members of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. Alright. So this is what the institution that is meant for electing President. Now, what is the qualification of President of India? I'll talk about general qualifications. He should be citizen of India. Any citizen of India, right? So the office of president, if you take the office of president, whether this office is reserved for any caste or any group, whether the office of president is reserved for any caste or group, no, it is open for all. The office of president is open for all. So everyone has equal opportunity. Every citizen of this nation has equal opportunity. They have equal opportunity in getting elected as President of India. So there is no discrimination. This office is open to all, right? Irrespective of caste, creed, gender, right? Who is the first women President of India? It is Pratibha Devi Singh Bharati, right? So, sorry, Pratibha Patil, right? It was Pratibha Patil, whose full name is, right, Pratibha Devi Singh Patil, right? So now it is Draupadi Murmu, right, the second women president. And what is the other distinction of Draupadi Murmu? What is the other distinction of the present president? Alright, the first candidate from scheduled tribe. First from scheduled tribe. So that means what? Alright, that means what? This office of president in India, we have a system where the office of president is open to every section of this society. It is not reserved. It is not a privilege. The office of president is not a privilege, it is open for all. The only thing is, upon satisfying the constitutional conditions, upon satisfying the constitutional qualifications, everyone has the right to contest president elections. Okay. The opposite of this is, you take monarchy systems, right? If you take monarchies, so what is this monarchy says? In monarchy, the head of the state, right, the office of head of the nation or office of head of the state, it is a privilege given to one particular group or one particular family. It is reserved for a family. Only a member of that family are allowed to become head of the nation. We call them as royal family, right? So here in monarchies, the office of head of the state, it is reserved for a royal family. It is only the members of royal family. It is only the members of royal family can they can assume the office of head of the state. Take the case of Britain. Britain is the best example of monarchy. Right? We have seen the queen. Earlier we have seen the queen. Right? Princess. The next one, the grandchildren. That means only a member of that family is allowed to become the head of the state. No others. So it is a privilege. It is reserved for one group or one family, which is quite opposite to a republic. In republic system, right, the office is open to everyone. The office is open to everyone. So everyone has equal opportunity. Everyone has equal opportunity of assuming the office of president. Right? So that is what a republic means. And coming to government, as I said, republic also denotes a nature of government. A government which have an elected head of the government. Who is the head of the government in India? It is again president. President of India is both head of the state as well as head of the government, a nominal head, right? Though he is the head of the government, but he is a nominal executive, a nominal head, right? Article 53 of the Constitution, remember, it is Article 53 of the Constitution. It is Article 53 of the Constitution. which clearly specifies that, right, or the entire union executive is placed under President of India, where President of India shall discharge his functions, right, by the officers appointed by him. Right. So there are two things. The entire union executive is placed under president, and president will discharge his functions by the officers appointed by him, including the council of ministers. All right. So there is another word, but I am not going to talk about that word now. I will not discuss that word now. I will discuss it when it reach president. But as of now, remember that according to Article 53, all right, the entire union executive is placed under President of India. So that is President of India is head of the union executive. President of India is the head of union executive. Am I clear? All right. Okay. All right. So this is what about a republic. All right. Next, moving on to the most important word that is always in debate. All right. And every day it is in use. That is the word of secular. Yes, he is an integral part of legislature, and he comes first. President, right? President comes first in the legislature. First it is president, then comes Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Right? Right. So definitely, right? Being the first, we can also call him as head of the legislature, because no law will be enforced, no law will be enacted without the assent of President of India. A law that is made by Parliament, will be enforced or enacted only after getting assented by president. So without the assent of president, no law can be enacted. Right? Secular. Right? The word which was added to Constitution by 42nd Amendment Act. It was added to Constitution by 42nd Amendment Act. Right? But as I said earlier, alright, in preamble we have the word of liberty. Alright? So you can trace the roots of secular. Alright? You can trace the roots of the word secular to this word liberty. Alright? Liberty, that is freedom from all the constraints. Freedom from all the constraints. We call it as, alright, liberty. Alright? Alright? And if you take this liberty, there are other elements, but we have liberty of worship. So for last 2 days we are having a debate on this point. We are discussing this point. Liberty of worship, liberty of faith, and liberty of belief, liberty of expression. Alright? So all they are. So that means faith, worship and belief. That means religious freedoms are clearly given in the preamble itself. Right? So every individual has this what we call religious freedom. It is up to you to follow your own faith. It is up to you to follow your own God. Right? Right? It is up to the individual, depending upon the requirement. We worship the God. We worship the religion. అవసరమైతే దేవుడిని నమ్ముతాం. అవసరం లేకపోతే అవసరం లేదనుకోండి దేవుడిని నమ్ముతామా? అవసరం ఉంటే గుడికి పోతాం, అవసరం లేకపోతే నో గుడి. అవసరం ఉంటే దేవుడు, అవసరం ఉంటే కొబ్బరికాయ, అవసరం లేకపోతే నో కొబ్బరికాయ, నో అగరబత్తి. రైట్? సో ఎవ్రీథింగ్ డిపెండ్స్ అపాన్ వాట్? అవర్ అవసరం. ఆ ఫ్రీడమ్ మనకు ఉన్నది ఇండియాలో. రైట్? సో వీ హ్యావ్, ఐ ఆల్వేస్ సే, రోజుకు ఒక దేవుడు ఉంటాడు మనకి. మండే ఒక దేవుడు, ట్యూస్డే ఒక దేవుడు. రైట్? డూ యూ బిలీవ్ ఇన్ గాడ్? I always believe in God. Once it comes to October, you will see the God in me. Right? October, November, December, January. Right? అప్పుడు ఇంకోలాగా ఉంటాను నేను. సేమ్ సింగిల్ యూనిఫామ్. Right? So it is up to the individual. Believe in God or not believe in, don't believe in God. It is up to you. There is no compulsion in this country. Alright? So every individual is given this religious freedoms. Every individual has this liberty. Right? If you take this secularism, alright? Secularism denotes, right? It denotes equality of all the religions. Right? There are many meanings. There are many meanings of this word secularism. It denotes religious equality. In a simple word, it is religious equality. That is equality of all the religions. There is no state preferred religion. There is no state preferred religion. There is no state preferred religion. That means the constitution or the government or any organ of the government will not prefer any religion. All the religions are equal in front of constitution. All the religions are equal in front of law. Alright? That is, there is religious equality. There is no biasness, there is no preferred religion. If you take Pakistan or a neighboring country, if you take description of Pakistan, Islamic Republic of Pakistan, it is described as Islamic Republic of Pakistan. We take Iran, Islamic Republic of Iran. Same with Turkey. You have the word of religion, Islam. That means what? There is a prescribed religion for that country. So there is a preference given to that country. Right? So they cannot be called as secular countries. Because why they are not secular? Because there is a preference given to religion. If you take India, do we have any religion as a preference before, as a prefix before the name of India? No. No religious prefixes is used in India. We simply call ourselves as a democratic republic. It is simply called as a democratic republic. So there is no preference given to any religion. So all the religions are equal. There is no biasness. No state preferred religion or no bias. No bias to the religion. No. See, alright, worshipping, alright, it means, see, normally it is a hairline difference, right? Worship, if you take a dictionary meaning, right? Following a god, and what you can call it as praying. Alright, belief. Alright, so though you pray or not, but at least you can believe in the principles. Alright, sometimes you offer everything to God. Even without offering, what you do is you simply believe in the God. Alright, so do you believe in God? Yes. Do you worship and pray the God regularly? No. Right? Faith. Alright, so it is a kind of trust, the trust of individual in certain principles, a trust of individuals in what you call in the God. So that is what faith is. Alright. So coming to this secularism, there won't be any state preferred religion. There won't be any state preferred religion. So all the religions are equal. So there is no biasness in the, there is no biasness shown to any religion. Alright. That means what? A law that is made by state, the law that is made by state, it is equally applicable to all the religions. Alright. A law that is made by state, the law that is made, it is equally applicable. It is equally applicable to all the religions. So recently we have seen women entry into temples. Alright. Whether it is applicable only to one particular religion, whether women of only one religion is allowed to enter into temple. No. When a law is made, law is equally applicable to all the religions. So women of all the religions, they can follow their own faith, they can also follow their own what you call religion. They can enter into temples. So state has every power to regulate every religion. So another meaning of this is, right, the power of the state. State has every power to regulate religion. That is, this regulation is done by way of laws. State can make laws for regulating religion. Regulation of Jallikat too, the recent debates, right? So state has every power to regulate religion. That is, state promotes as well as regulates all the religions. It is not one religion or particular religions. It is all the religions. State regulates as well as promotes all the religions. That means there won't be any kind of preferences or biasness for the government. So there is another meaning that we can derive is there is an active participation of state in the religion. Alright. So if you take Indian form of secularism, particularly if you take Indian form of secularism in India, state is involved with religion. State can control and state can also celebrate all the religions. We see, right, state celebration of different festivals of every religion. Alright. So that is what promotion. That means state has every power on religion in India, which is a peculiar character of Indian secularism. Right? Remember, Indian secularism is different from Western form of secularism. Right? So Indian secularism, the meaning that we take in India is different from the Western countries. Right? So we will discuss this difference between Indian form of secularism and Western form of secularism after the break. Right? So let us take a break of 5 minutes, and after the break we will meet again. So, if you take the difference between Indian form of secularism and the Western form of secularism, remember there is much difference between Indian form of secularism as well as Western form of secularism. So, if you take Indian form of secularism, we see active role of state, active involvement of state in religion. There is active involvement of state in the religion. Alright, this is one thing, that is state can promote, not promotion exactly, state respects and state regulates. State respects and regulates all the religions, that is there is an active involvement. Alright, so when you go through articles 25, articles 26, right, particularly you will come to know. Remember articles 25 to 28 of Indian Constitution, articles 25 to 28 of Indian Constitution, they deal with the religious rights. They deal with religious rights of individual. They deal with the religious rights of individuals. Alright. So, in both Article 25 and Article 26, there is a clear provision that state can make laws. There is a clear provision that state can make laws. State can make laws for the purpose of regulating the religion. Alright. So, this is clearly mentioned in what you call Indian Constitution. Alright, that is state can regulate and there is a state involvement. If you go to Western countries, alright, there is a clear separation of state from religion. Right? In Western countries, state and religion, right, in Western countries, state and religion are clearly separated. They are clearly separated. That means state will not involve, or state will not involve in the religion. So there is a church, say for example, you take church. So church will take the control of religious affairs. So religious affairs is being regulated and controlled by church. Alright. Similarly have the Muslim state, that is Khalifa. Alright. So there is no state involvement. There is no state involvement in religion. So there is a clear separation of state from religion. Alright. This is Western form of secularism. Alright. And there is another thing called as state neutrality towards religion. So there are states which don't believe in religion. Right. So that is the reason why they avoid religion in their countries. That is state neutrality. I'm sorry. There is complete state neutrality towards religion. So this is a basic philosophy of Western country. Alright. So state neutrality is a basic principle of secularism in Western countries. Right. Whether state is neutral in India. If you take India, whether state is neutral in India, state is not neutral. Right. State is active. So Western countries are based upon the principle of state neutrality. Right. So if you take India, India always believes in the principle of Sarva Dharma Sambhavana. If you take Indian secularism, it is on the principle of Sarva Dharma Sambhavana. It is based upon the principle of Sarva Dharma Sambhavana. Alright. So this is one thing. Sarva Dharma అన్ని ధర్మాలు ఒక్కటే. సో ఈక్వాలిటీ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ ది రిలీజియన్స్, రైట్. సర్వధర్మ సంభావన is nothing but respect to all the religions, equality of all the religions. Opposite to this is, right, पंथ निरपेक्ष and धर्म निरपेक्ष, right. संत and पंथ, right. निरपेक्ष, that means neutrality. So nirpeksh denotes neutrality. Nirpeksh denotes neutrality. Denotes neutrality, right. So this is what about what you call concept of secularism in India. So once again I will revise. Secularism denotes, right, it denotes equality of all the religions or religious equality. It denotes no preference being given to any religions, no state preference, no state bias to any religion. State has the power to regulate and respect all the religions. A law that is made by state, it is equally applicable to all the religions. That is what another thing, right. And if you take Indian form of secularism, in India there is active involvement of state with respect to religion, whereas if you take Western form of secularism, there is complete state neutrality towards religion. That is, there is a clear separation between state and religion. State will not involve in the religious affairs, right. So this is the basic difference between Indian form of secularism and Western form of secularism. So secularism is always regarded as basic structure of Indian constitution which can never be violated, right. The secular character can never be violated. It can never be violated, all right. So this was clearly said by Supreme Court in SR Bommai case. It is clearly said by Supreme Court in SR Bommai case. So in SR Bommai versus Union of India case, so this judgment was delivered in the aftermath of demolition of Babri Masjid. So when there is a kind of what you call law and order problem, and when there is a kind of public disturbance, right, Supreme Court, while delivering judgment on this SR Bommai case, it clearly said that secular character is basic structure of Indian constitution. Secular character is regarded as basic structure of Indian constitution which can never be violated, all right. So this is about Indian secularism. And another point that you should know, remember is, it is articles 25 to articles 28 of the constitution. Articles 25 to articles 28, they deal with the religious rights, all right. So this is about, you want to ask anything? SR Bommai, aftermath of demolition of Babri Masjid, the issue of Ayodhya, it was in 1992. It was in 1992 where this judgment was given. But of course, in polity, coming to years, it is not that much important. Just remember the case, all right. All right. So right, so this is about what you call secularism. All right, coming to the other goals mentioned in preamble, that is the goals of equality, justice. All right, so our constitution has given the goals of equality, justice, all right, liberty, fraternity, right? Equality, right? It is about equal treatment of all, similar treatment to all the individual, right? Similarity between all the individuals, which includes social equality, economic equality and political equality. Justice, which means just and fair treatment of all the individuals. Justice denotes just and fair treatment. It is just and fair treatment of all the individuals. That is what justice means. Alright? Justice is nothing but it is just and fair treatment of all the individuals. Alright? Again, our constitution provides economic justice, alright, social justice, economic justice and political justice. Remember part 3 and part 4 of Indian constitution, part 3 as well as part 4. So part 3 deals with fundamental rights, part 4 deals with DPSP, right? So this part 3, part 4, they are aimed at promoting social, economic and political equality as well as justice, right? So social equality, political equality and economic equality, social justice, economic justice and political justice, all they are promoted by part 3 of Indian constitution. So part 3 and part 4 of Indian constitution, they aim at alright, promoting this justice, alright. They promote equality as well as justice in all the forms. Liberty, as I said earlier, it is freedom from all the constraints, right? So freedoms given to the individual, right? Free from all the restrictions imposed, free from all the constraints imposed. Fraternity, what do you mean by fraternity? It is universal brotherhoodness, right? So it again promotes equality, right? So universal brotherhoodness, it promotes equality of all the individuals, because if you take Indian society, Indian society is known for diversity, right? Existence of multiple cultures, multiple faiths, multiple groups, right? So as there is diversity in India, so fraternity promotes this universal brotherhoodness, right? Single citizenship, right? It is single citizenship that promotes the aim of providing single citizenship is to promote unity and integrity within India, unity among all the Indians. That is what fraternity is. So these are different elements and different words within preamble. Alright? Okay. So now let us move to the next topic, that is nature of Indian Federation. Alright? The next topic that we are going to discuss is nature of Indian Federation. Alright? So here I will talk about Article 1, Article 2, Article 3 as well as Article 4 of the Constitution. That is, in this chapter we will try to understand all these articles. So primarily the focus will be on understanding, right, Article 2 and Article 3. Right? Article 2 deals with admitting new states into Indian Union. Admitting new states into Indian Union. Whereas Article 3, it denotes creation of new states. It denotes creation of new states from the existing states. Creation of new states from the existing states, right? So this is Article 2 and Article 3 of the Constitution. So Article 2 is about admitting new states into Indian Union. Article 3 is about creation of new states in creation of new states from the existing states, right? So, but before going to this, let us try to make let us try to talk about federation. That is, we will discuss the federal features and we will compare these federal features with the Indian system. So why India should not be called as a pure federation? In other words, why India is called as quasi-federal, right? So we know that India is called as quasi-federal. India is called as quasi-federal. That is, it is called as partly federal. It is called as partly federal, quasi-federal or partly federal. So why it is called as quasi-federal or partly federal? So we will come to know only when we compare, this with, what you call the actual federation. When we compare Indian system with the actual federation. Alright. So let us try to understand features of a pure federation. Then we will compare a true federation or a pure federation. True federation or a pure federation. Okay. First, a system will be called as pure federation if it has at least two levels of government, that is dual polity. The first one is dual polity, right? So what is dual polity? Right, at least two levels of government, right? At least two levels of government. A nation that has at least two levels of government will be called as federation. So federation means at least having two levels of government. Alright. Division of powers. Another feature is division of powers. Division of powers between different levels of government. Alright. Division of powers between different levels of government. Alright. So a nation, so wherever there are dual polity, wherever there are two levels of government, definitely there we will see powers being divided between the two levels, the legislative, executive and financial powers. It is division of legislative, executive and financial powers. Division of legislative, executive and financial powers, right, between different levels of government, right? That is division of powers, right? A written constitution. Written constitution, right? Wherever there are federations, there will be written constitutions. Written constitutions and dual constitutions. Every political unit having their own constitutions. It is not single constitution, it is dual constitutions. So every political units, అంటే ప్రతి పొలిటికల్ యూనిట్కి తనకంటూ సపరేట్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ ఉండడము. రైట్. సో ఎవ్రీ పొలిటికల్ యూనిట్ హ్యావింగ్ ఇట్స్ ఓన్ what you call constitutions. Right. This is one thing. Second, right, supreme constitutions in a pure federation, right? So this common constitution, right, the federal constitution being supreme. Federal means the common constitution, a constitution that is common to all the political units. So every political unit having its own constitution, at the same time the common constitution, and this common constitution is called as federal constitution. The common constitution is called as federal constitution, right? So this federal constitution is supreme. Rigid constitution. It is a rigid constitution. It is rigid constitution, right? That means it is not that easy. Rigid means a constitutions that cannot be amended easily, the constitution that cannot be changed easily. cannot be amended, cannot be amended easily. Those constitutions which cannot be changed easily, that is rigid constitutions. Alright. Bicameral legislatures. Another feature of true federations are bicameral legislatures. Bicameralism. It is bicameralism or bicameral legislatures. Alright. What do you mean by bicameral legislatures? Existence of two legislative bodies, and one of the legislative body is meant to protect the interest of states. If you take India, we have bicameral legislature, right? So we have Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Out of these two, which one is meant to protect the interest of states? Rajya Sabha is meant to protect the interest of states. So Rajya Sabha is also called as Council of States, right? Rajya Sabha is also called as Council of States. The primary purpose of Rajya Sabha, it is to protect the interest of states. Alright. So this is bicameral legislature. Alright. Independent judiciary. Independent judiciary. So already we have discussed this meaning of independent judiciary in the previous class. Separate judiciary, even this was discussed in the yesterday's class. Independent judiciary, separate judiciary, dual citizenship. Dual citizenship. Alright, so these are features of true federations. Alright. Independent judiciary, separate judiciary, dual citizenship, all these are features of true federation. Okay. So now let us evaluate, let us compare. So do we have dual polity in India? Do we have at least two levels of government? What are they? Central government, state government. Along with this, we have local governments or panchayat raj institutions. In India, we have three levels of government. So one is center, states and local bodies. Right? So we have this dual polity. Do we have division of powers? Yes. 7th schedule of Indian Constitution. 7th schedule of Indian Constitution deals with this dual polity. We have division of powers, where the legislative, executive and financial powers are clearly divided between center and states, right? So we have central list, state list and concurrent list, right? Do we have written constitution? Yes, we have written constitution. Do we have dual constitutions? No, we don't have dual constitutions, right? Do we have supreme constitution? So our constitution is supreme. Do we have rigid constitution? We have flexible and rigid, and the amount of flexibility is more when compared to the rigidity. Alright. So it is very easy to amend Indian Constitution. So amending Indian Constitution is not that difficult in India. Amending Indian Constitution, it is not that difficult. It is easy to amend Indian Constitution. Alright, it is more flexible and less rigid. Alright, so exactly we don't have rigid constitution. Do we have bicameral legislature? Yes or no? Yes, we have bicameral legislature. That is, we have Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, where the Rajya Sabha has a special responsibility. Rajya Sabha has special responsibility of protecting the interest of states. Alright. So do we have independent judiciary? Yes, we have independent judiciary. Do we have separate judiciary? No. Our judiciary is integrated judiciary. It is not a separate judiciary, it is integrated judiciary. Alright. And what about dual citizenship? We have single citizenship but not dual citizenship. So now the conclusion is, do we share the features of all the federation? Sorry, do we share the features of, do we share all the features of federation in India? Do we have all the features of federation in India? No, we don't have all the features of federation. So, the true federation, as we don't have all the features, so India is not a true federation. But when compared to these federal features, the unitary features are more in India. Common constitution, single citizenship, power of parliament to amend the constitution, right? Even if you take the states in India, creation of states, merging of states, altering the boundaries of states, who has this power? It is center. Article 3 has given this power to the center. Amending, it is center alone. Parliament alone can initiate the process of amending the constitution, right? And we have different constitutional bodies, and all these constitutional bodies are appointed and removed by center, right? You have UPSC, you have RBI, you have CEC, you have CAG, right? So all these are the, so we have Central Finance Commission. So we have these constitutional bodies which are appointed, which are removed by center, right? So center has a domination. Emergency provisions, again it is center. So that means more than unitary features, more than federal features, it is unitary features which are more. So unitary features are more in India. That is the reason why India is called as more unitary and less federal. It is quasi-federal. So according to K.C. Ware, the K.C. Ware has described Indian Federation as, right, a quasi-federal system. It is K.C. Ware who has used this word, what you call quasi-federal, and he has commented that Indian Federation is more unitary and less federal, right? Ivor Jennings, Granville Austin, so they have commented on Indian Federation, saying that what you call Indian Federation is a federation with centralizing tendency. It is commented as, right, a cooperative federation, right? It is commented as cooperative federation. So these are different descriptions. These are different descriptions of Indian Federation. So after learning center-state relations, answer these questions. Alright? Take down a question, but answer these questions after learning center-state relations, because you cannot write these answers without knowing that. Alright? Why Indian Federation? Why Indian Federation is described as a cooperative federation? Why Indian Federation is described as a cooperative federation? Why Indian Federation is described as a cooperative federation? Alright? So you can know this only when you know the division of powers between center and states. So without knowing that, it is not possible to answer. But there are very good articles in Hindu paper. Alright? Coming to the nature of Indian Federation, the working of Indian Federation, you can read the Hindu paper articles. There are almost all 3 to 4 articles. They are very wonderful and they are very good. You can use them for your UPSC preparation. Alright? K.C. Ware. W-H-E-A-R-E. It is K.C. Ware who has commented on Indian Federation. Right? Who has said that, right, Indian Federation is a quasi-federal one with, right, with more unitary features. Right? So this is what about the comparison of Indian Federation with the pure federation. So let us talk about Article 1. If you take Article 1, Article 1 of Indian Constitution describes India as a union with federal features. That means the framers of Indian Constitution, they have provided a union. Alright, they have provided a union with federal features. Alright, so there is what you call reasons for this. The reason for providing a unitary, because there was a big debate whether India should be a union or a federation. If you take Pakistan, Pakistan has declared itself as a federal country. Pakistan is a federal country, whereas India is a unitary country. Alright. So based upon the historical backdrop, that is the kind of integration of states that took place in India. Right. If you take India, India was having almost 546 princely states. So it was an hardest task. It was an hardest task for Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel to integrate all these states. Even after 1947, we see presence of certain princely states, right, who claimed independence. The best example is the Nizam of Hyderabad, right, who wanted to remain independent. But of course, it is after police action. We have Hyderabad, we have Travancore, we have Junagadh, Goa-like states, right. So that means, if you take India, we were having princely states, right, before independence and even after independence. So to control this, and if you take the immediate backdrop of India's independence, that is just before 1947, the kind of communal violence that took place in India, all right. So all these factors prompted Union government, the framers of constitution, to have a strong union, because without having a strong union, it is not possible to control these kind of divisive forces in India. All right. To control divisive forces, to bring about unity, all right. So to maintain the India's national integrity. So at that point of time, so union was the dire need. Union was the dire need of the framers of constitution. అప్పుడున్న హిస్టారికల్ కండిషన్స్కి, యూనియన్ అనేది ఖచ్చితంగా అవసరమైంది. అందుకనే ద ఫ్రేమర్స్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియన్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ ఫేవర్డ్ యూనిటరీ సిస్టమ్. రైట్. యూనియన్ ఎందుకు అవసరం వచ్చింది అంటే అప్పుడున్న కండిషన్స్ తగ్గట్టు యూనియన్ అవసరం వచ్చింది. మరి ఇప్పుడు అలాంటి కండిషన్స్ ఉన్నాయా? Do we have the same kind of conditions today? The conditions of 2024 are same as that of the conditions of 1947. It is totally different, right? It was the conditions of 1947 which prompted union, but the conditions have changed now. We see a drastic change in the nation. So why don't we adopt a federal system now? Why we should follow the same kind of union which was imposed because of the prevailing conditions? Why can't we move towards federal system? Because today states are given more responsibility, more administrative responsibility. So without financial powers, it is not that possible. It is not possible for the states to fulfill their administrative responsibility, to discharge their responsibilities. So financial powers are essential, taxation powers are essential. So if you take taxation powers, the revenue generating capacity of union is more when compared to the states. అంటే యూనియన్ దగ్గర ఉన్న రెవెన్యూ జనరేషన్ పవర్స్, అంటే taxation పవర్స్, అవి చాలా ఎక్కువ కంపేర్ టు స్టేట్స్. బట్ కమింగ్ టు అడ్మినిస్ట్రేటివ్ రెస్పాన్సిబిలిటీస్, ఇట్ ఈస్ గివెన్ టు స్టేట్స్. So now states are demanding more taxation powers. States want more revenue generating powers. So why can't we move? Why can't we change our nature of federation? Why can't we give more powers to states? This is what the present demand. The present demand is to provide more powers to states. States are demanding, particularly the regional states. It is not a new demand. It is not a new demand. It was a demand for last 4 decades in India. Almost all from 1967, right? There's a regional states, they are demanding more powers. All right, that's the debate. Take down the question. So you can write a very good answer only if you read Hindu paper. Bring out a case for moving from union to federal system in India. Bring out a case for moving from unitary system to federal system in India. Bring out a case for moving from unitary system to federal system in India. That is The question is simply about the reasons that can justify adoption of federal system by replacing unitary system. That is a replacement of unitary system with the federal system, and you should give the reasons for that, and you will get good reasons when you read Hindu paper, right? So, alright, so this is alright, so if you take Article 1, so Article 1 calls India as a union with federal features, and this Indian union is undestructible. Indian union is undestructible. So no one has the power to secede from Indian union. No one can, no state in India has the right to secede. That is, no state in India has the right to get separated. So no state can get separated. No state can get separate from Indian union. Alright? So that means, just now I said that Indian union has the power to admit any new state into Indian union. The government of India has every power to admit any new state or any new territory into Indian union. But once it joins, it has no power to get separated. అంటే ఇండియాలో రావడమే కానీ పోవడానికి వీలు లేదు, సపరేట్ కావడానికి వీలు లేదు. రైట్? If given a chance, alright, if think that if states are given a chance to get separate from India, what will happen to India? Whether the unity and the territorial integrity of India will remain? No. It will lead to destruction. Right? It will lead to destruction. It is for this reason more powers are given to union. The reason for giving more powers to union is only to protect India's territorial integrity. It is to protect the unity and integrity of the nation. Alright? So no state in India has the right to get secede from Indian union. So no state has the power to get separated. So Indian union is undestructible. Right? So because India is not formed by agreement between the states. Right? If you take the case of India, India is not formed by agreement between the states. India is a single piece of land which is divided into states. Right? It is a single nation, a nation which is divided into states. If you take America, America as a nation was formed by joining agreement between different states. So different states have come together. And they have agreed to form a nation called as America. అంటే అన్ని స్టేట్స్ కలిసి నేషన్ని ఫామ్ చేసినాయి. అదే ఇండియాలో ఏంటిది, ఒక నేషన్ని మనము ఫర్ అవర్ పొలిటికల్ రీజన్స్ వీ హ్యావ్ డివైడ్ ఇంటూ స్టేట్స్. రైట్? దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ ద డిఫరెన్స్ బిట్వీన్ ఇండియా అండ్ అమెరికా. ఇండియా ఈజ్ ద బెస్ట్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఆఫ్ హోల్డింగ్ టుగెదర్ ఫెడరేషన్. Right? Our nation, it is a best example of holding together federation. Holding together federation. Right? Whereas if you take America, America is an example of coming together federation. America is an example of coming together federation. It is different states in America came together, right? Different states in America came together to form a nation called as America. Whereas in India, it is one single nation, right? For the political reasons, for the political convenience, right? It is being divided into states, right? So ours is an example of holding together federation, right? So these are two types of federal systems: coming together federations and holding together federations. Alright? Coming to states in India. Alright? So, the territorial integrity of states in India is not guaranteed. Alright? The territorial integrity the territorial integrity of the states in India is not guaranteed. That means what? Whenever required, alright, these states can be merged, they can be separated, their boundaries can be altered. That means their territories, the territories of the state is not guaranteed in India. There is no territorial guarantee for states in India. That means states can be destructed. Union is indestructible. States can be destroyed. That is the territory of India, right? It is always protected, right? That is the sovereignty, unity and integrity of Indian territory. It is always protected. Whereas there is no such guarantee. There is no such guarantee for territorial integrity of the states. The territories of the states can be changed. They can be what you call altered. That is what Article 1 says. Alright. Now coming to Article 2 of Indian Constitution. Alright. So before going to Article 2, let me do one thing. I will stop the class here for now. I will discuss Article 2 in the tomorrow's class. Alright. I will discuss Article 2 in the tomorrow's class. I don't want to load you everything with the information. Alright. So let me talk about the questions. The question that was given in the previous class. So can you give me the question that was given in the last class? The questions that were given in the last class. Okay. Question? This is what dinner. No? Discuss the debate on amendability of preamble. What is the other question? Okay, so let me take this question of amending preamble. All right. So discuss the debate. So let me give a hint on this debate on the amending of preamble. So as it is a debate, definitely your answer should have a conclusion. As it is a debate, your answer should have a conclusion. So what is the conclusion for this question? Whether it can be amended or not? It can be amended. Alright. So the conclusion should be that the preamble of Indian Constitution can be amended. Alright. First of all, your first part of the answer, what is preamble? What is preamble? So you can best write this answer in paragraph instead of using the points, right? You can give this answer. The answer will be good. It will be good looking if you write the answer in paragraph wise. So first paragraph should be about preamble. What is preamble? And in 20 words define preamble as well as bring out the significance. That is, in 3 to 4 lines give the meaning and what you call significance. Second, now go to the issue whether it is amended or not. Now to know this, right, take the help of Berubari case. What was said in Berubari case and what was said in Keshavananda Bharati case. So here it is 20 words, here it is 20 words, and third one is, as I said, it was LIC versus Union of India case. 20 words. Now it is 25 to 30 words. Right? Your conclusion, the ultimate conclusion, the third part of your answer, it is conclusion. Alright? Our conclusion is, so here, whenever you are concluding, your conclusion should be always according to the arguments that you are giving. Arguments okalagichi conclusion ichindi, you won't get marks. Whenever you are concluding answer, your conclusion should be according to the arguments that you are giving in the answer. So your conclusion should not be more than in 20 words. Alright? So the conclusion is, yes, the preamble of Indian Constitution can be amended, and it was amended in 1976 by 42nd Amendment Act. It's over. Alright. So this should be the structure of your answer. Alright. A very simple question and a very simple way of answering the question. Okay. Right. Just follow this. So one thing I want to say, today I'll post a video on the optional of public administration. So what are the advantages of taking public administration as an optional? The scoring patterns in public administration, and why we should take public administration. Alright. So today by almost all by 5 o'clock you can have this video posted in the channel. Alright. So you can just go through that video and take a decision. Alright. So for now I'll stop the class here today, and we will meet tomorrow at the same time of 9:30. So tomorrow I'll complete this nature of federation, as well as tomorrow I'll complete citizenship. The ways on, that is different ways of acquiring citizenship, different ways of losing citizenship, as well as the debate on Citizenship Amendment Act. So not only the constitutional provisions on what you call this citizenship, but also I'll discuss the newly amended law, that is from 2015, 17 and 19, the changes made from 15 till date on this Citizenship Act. Alright. Okay. So, and if possible, right, do try to give your review in Google. Alright. So all those students who like my lecture, right, if you like my lecture, give me the reviews. Alright. మార్కెటింగ్ కోసం కావాలంట. ఎప్పుడైనా పేరాగ్రాఫ్స్ రాయాలి. ఎప్పుడు పాలిటీ అనే కాదు. రైట్. ఇట్ ఇస్ నాట్ జస్ట్ పాలిటీ. రైట్. మీరు unless the question, right, I'll say one thing. Unless the question is asked to enumerate, unless you have the word of enumeration in the question, right, try to use paragraphs. Every paragraph should be of 20 to 25 words, and in every paragraph there should be two important words, two valid words. రెండు పదాలు ఖచ్చితంగా ఉండాలి, రెండు ఇంపార్టెంట్ పదాలు ఉండాలి. It is for the two words you will get marks. Ensure that for every paragraph you get 2 marks. If it is for 10 marks, write 5 paragraphs. If it is for 12 marks, write 6 paragraphs. If it is for 15 marks, write 7 paragraphs. That should be the way of answer writing. So always practice in this way. So make your answer writing more systematic. Every paragraph should have 2 valid words, and underline that words, you will get marks. Okay.